Sabrina 70s comic issue 35. We start out with Ethel holding Jughead's arm, insisting on sharing a soda with him when he's busy. She smartly offers to buy him a burger, but he says that being with the girl would make him lose his appetite. Sabrina feels sorry for her, just like the audience, so she zaps up a love potion for her. It'd be interesting if the story was allowed to progress further and Ethel got sick of Jughead and naturally moved on from him forever, after she finally spent enough time with him to get to know what kind of bad boyfriend he'd be. Instead of this just being a one-story thing. I mean, you'd think she'd get tired of a boyfriend who's just focused on eating burgers. Sabrina lies to Ethel that she got the potion from a gypsy lady, and it'd work if you put 3 drops of it into some water and had Jughead drink it. Consents be darned. Then his heart would belong to the first person he'd see. Oh, so he won't see Ethel first? I've already seen Jughead get affected by a love spell and meet a lover. Because Ethel's desperate, she agrees to try it anyways. Gee, it sure is lucky she knew exactly where to go to find Jughead at this point. I guess she knows him well enough to know his schedule at this point. He gives the potion to the dog because he was probably thirsty after chasing a cat. So the dog falls in love with Ethel, acting like a human. I guess the love potion did that because it was expecting a human. And the story ends there. The next story starts out with Hilda finally putting her foot down with Sabrina about inviting Harvey over, but only because it's Ambrose's birthday. To be fair to Harvey, it's not like literally every time he goes here he's clumsy and breaks stuff. Ambrose insists on him coming here anyways because he's an idiot. Sabrina hugs him, and Ambrose at least is relatable when he says that he feels sorry for Harvey, and he tries so hard to please. Harvey immediately starts out by shaking his hand with a joy buzzer. How is that trying to please? Good thing he has the excuse that he has to humor Sabrina, or I'd wonder why he doesn't kick him out right away. This is out of character. Harvey grabs even more idiot balls as the cigars disappoint him and his flower squirts water at him, and he says he hopes he got a big kick out of all of this. So Ambrose kicks him out, saying, "Far be it from me to disappoint you. It was nice of Sabrina to talk to Harvey outside, but Harvey should have known better. I would have known better. And I'm not even a people person. You'd think Reggie would have done this." In the comedy page, Sabrina says that Harvey's up with the bases loaded, so he's apparently the baseball player here. Can he be on both this team and the football team? That seems unrealistic to me. Wouldn't he not have the time? Maybe he got kicked off the football team for its incompetence. Sabrina asks Hilda for a home run, and she summons a house running around on the field, and actually giggled a little. It really helps that Sabrina's actually smiling, showing good chemistry with her. And it was foreshadowed that she doesn't know much about baseball, so it kind of makes sense, but everybody knows what home run means. The Spy Witches are going to have the hardest time ever erasing the memory of everyone who saw that. There's a whole stadium. But I guess if it's just one incident and Hilda's not insisting on this being the case for all time, Gail doesn't have to step in. She's lucky Sabrina's in a good mood though, since that couldn't have been what she meant. I've always wondered if the comedy pages were considered non-canon, but I don't want to think of it like that because that's a lot of stories that would be non-canon, and they're still worth reading. In the next comedy page, Harvey says he loves bikinis, but somehow he says he can't stand to see his own girl in one. Huh? So it ends with Sabrina dressed up in a silly outfit. That was out of character. How many times has he been to the beach with her? In the next story, after Sabrina uses the hedge clippers, a guy walking by is love struck by Sabrina. Then he trips on Hilda's broom because he was distracted. Surprisingly, Hilda's uncharacteristically nice to this random mortal, and somehow he's smiling too. I guess she's into him and he just likes Sabrina. But then he tries to sell Hilda a bunch of cleaning supplies, so she kicks him out instead of just saying no and moving on. I'm not sure why they didn't have dialogue. I guess to have an experiment, and the experiment worked because the story was still kind of understandable. And all the lack of dialogue did was make reading the whole thing faster. It was just one big paragraph to review. In the comedy page, Sabrina says it's time to attend the Witches' Convention in Massachusetts. I wish I knew why she said that. This isn't the time of email. Maybe she got a telegram, but from who? A relative there? I'm glad we haven't been totally bombarded with new relatives of Sabrina like the first few issues had me expecting. Sabrina says she's not going to take her broom because it's a long trip and she wants to fly in comfort. So she flies in a flying bed. If Hilda admits that she's right, then why doesn't she do the same thing? Wouldn't it be amusing if we saw both of them in flying beds? Also, that makes me wonder why every witch doesn't do that. If they want to steer it, they can just use magic. But logically, you'd think all they'd have to do to get to their destination is walk into the other realm transportation closet. And the spell would warp them to an empty, designated room because they had an invitation ticket. That was the 90s sitcom thing, but there's no reason they couldn't have written it in the 70s comic. Harvey asks Sabrina what Betty, Veronica, and even Ethel are doing at her house. They're here to hear her new tapes. And Harvey's disappointed that he's not alone with her. She says that she changed her mind and he could hear them anytime. Why can't he just stay here like I assumed? Hilda arrives home from shopping, saying that fighting for bargains would tire anyone out. She wouldn't be so tired out if she was driving a car home instead of insisting on walking all the way home carrying bags of groceries. How did people not get mugged doing that? I guess she's so old-fashioned she stubbornly refuses to learn how to drive a car. I wish she explained that she's just afraid of getting into an accident. But you'd think she would just warp home. Predictably, she's mad at all of these people in her house. Ambrose says that they're Sabrina's friends, so of course he let them in, and she smartly gives up on reasoning with him and decides to make herself a glass of milk. But all the milk is gone. Zelda gave it to Sabrina's friends with some cookies. Hilda asks who's more important around here, her sister or the kids? Can't one of them just zap up some more milk? The bathroom door is locked because Betty is washing Ethel's hair. Naturally, Hilda's mad and cathartically says, "Now I'm not even allowed to use my own bathroom. This house is run all wrong." She demands some changes around here. Harvey claps and congratulates her, and she kicks him out. Well, at least she says, "Thanks, Harvey. I really needed that." I could review these comics all day. And I do. It's not frustrating enough to wear me out. The first story is about Jughead giving Sabrina's love potion for Ethel to his dog because it was in water and he was thirsty. It was so predictable that Ethel would fail, but at least I was surprised by the ending. And stating the obvious here, of course, love potions are bad. The second story is about Hilda's authority being ignored because Harvey gets invited to Ambrose's birthday party anyways, and somehow Harvey's dumb enough to get him mad with a bunch of uncharacteristic pranks, like a flower squirting water. It would have made sense if he did that to Hilda because Hilda's always grumpy around him. Comedy Chimp was really dated if he had one of those flowers that squirt water, if it's been a thing since the 70s. I guess that was supposed to be the joke with them. Then after a story where a door-to-door salesman admires Sabrina, trips and gets kicked out by Hilda because he stupidly tried to sell her stuff when she was showing him hospitality, which proved that the comic doesn't necessarily need dialogue. There's a story where Hilda's naturally mad at all of Sabrina's friends being in her house because she can't use the bathroom, although she could have just zapped up a glass of milk, or a functioning toilet. Is she that bad at remembering what milk tastes like? She's an experienced witch. She'd be used to remembering what stuff tastes like to zap it up.